Akim Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all.
Nigerian food import increased by 45%.
House calls for measures to forestall food crisis in the country.
Why are you using unapproved mosquito nets around the country? Malaria commodities that are supposed to help us solve this problem. Why are you using unapproved one?
And members take the leadership of the National Malaria Program to tax over the distribution of substandard malaria nets in the country. Glad to have you join us again on yet another episode of House Ticket, as we provide you with education on the workings of the legislature with focus on the House of Representatives. Lawmakers have commenced their annual summer recess, which is expected to last about 7 weeks. They are expected to focus on other activities outside plenary, as well as have some quality time with constituents back home. While the recess lasts, we shall review landmark bills, motions deliberated upon, and any current event that unfolds. On this episode, we shall take you through proceedings during the last plenary before the House recessed. We also had a chat with the Chairman House Committee on Electoral Matters, where we discussed the many roles of the committee, preparations for the 2023 general elections, as well as other pertinent issues. All of this make up the program for this week. Please stay tuned.
The entire purpose of the legislative agenda is to direct our legislative resources and efforts in a coordinated effort to ensure the well-being of the individual in a life of safety and freedom. That is a high ambition, but it's well worth the effort. We have passed landmark legislation to fix our oil and gas industry, reform the police, and reorganize the corporate administration system in our country. We have considered and passed meaningful legislation that impacts all areas of our national life.
Thanks for staying tuned. Plans to forestall food shortages, banditry, and Nigeria's fight against malaria, these were some of the themes that ran through motions considered on the floor of the House shortly before the recess. How did the lawmakers react to them? What resolutions were taken, and what bills came up for discussion? Find out in our first report on the program. Keep watching.
On Wednesday, the 27th of July, 2022, Representative Rimande Shawulu moved a motion on the urgent need to implement laid-out plans to forestall the predicted food shortages in Nigeria.
A recently released central bank report showed that Nigerian food import increased by 45% to 2.71 billion naira in 12 months in 2021. The House is aware also that various reports by different multilateral organizations and international NGOs show that a very significant population of Nigeria will face acute food shortage and possible famine in this year 2022.
He expressed fears that if nothing concrete is done, the untold hardship could be hydra-headed with spiral effects. Prayers on the motion include a call for adequate measures to be put in place to avoid this food insecurity, as Nigeria has had more than its fair share of food shortages as a result of the decrease in farming activities due to the activities of terrorists who lay siege on farming communities in many states of the country. A further call on the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, and the Presidency to ensure concrete steps are taken to ensure Nigeria does not suffer these dire consequences. The motion was voted and adopted.
Against any, the ayes have it.
Since Thursday last week up to this moment,
Representative Victor Mela also rose on the platform of personal explanation to tell the House that his community in Gombe State has been under suspense as a result of the fallout of the apprehension of bandits who stole over 500 cars from different states and were later apprehended in Gombe State on the 23rd of July 2022 by a collaboration between police officers and local hunters.
the whole of these animals were taken to the stadium in building a local government. And that has created a tension. The community are tense because they don't want other thieves to come and attack the community. Honorable colleagues, I spoke with the Commissioner of Police, I spoke with the area commandant, I spoke with the DPO. None of them are at peace because of what is happening. But we want to appreciate the local hunters, appreciate the police, and the police command and other security agencies in Gombe State for intercepting these cows and other animals. And to add, weapons were recovered after search. AK-47 were recovered, AK-49 were recovered. Large sum of money were recovered from these people. There were about 18 of them and their family members.
Representative Mela called on the State Commissioner of Police to hastily release the stolen cows to the true owners so that the focus on Gombe can ease up. He also called for vigilance on the part of the security personnel to ensure the safety of those in the community. Being a personal explanation, no debate was taken. From the other paper came a motion titled, "Call for Intervention in Nigeria's Losses in the Fight Against Malaria," sponsored by Representative Benjamin Kalu alongside two other lawmakers. Representative Kalu, in leading the debate, wondered why the National Malaria Elimination Program (NMEP) is still using substandard nets and seems lackluster in combating malaria, despite the damning statistics of malaria infections and deaths and the various interventions of the House.
The fact speaks for itself. The statistics are not looking good. I have, highlighted them in the motion on notice that is circulated among members. I would like the House to support this motion for the relevant stakeholders to be invited. And questions like, why are you still using unapproved nets? Why are you using unapproved mosquito nets around the country? Malaria commodities that are supposed to help us solve this problem. Why are you using unapproved one? The ones that does not have NAFDAC numbers, why are you using them? The one that is not approved by WHO, why are you using them?
We lose a lot of lives. Women and children suffer immensely because when a woman gives birth and the child is under 5 and she loses her child and has to bury him because of malaria, it's very sad that so much money has been voted for and nothing is being done. People are still dying of malaria, especially children, like you said, on a daily basis. We must do something to arrest this because less and less foreign grants is coming into the nation. And there's no reason why our nets should not be produced in Nigeria. There are so many fake mosquito nets out there. What is government doing about it? Mr. Speaker, we need to review this whole HIV, malaria interventions of government, but particularly malaria because it affects every Nigerian. HIV, you have to put yourself there before you get in trouble. But malaria affects everybody.
As part of its resolution, the House decided to urge the Federal Ministry of Health, the National Malaria Program, and other relevant ministries, departments, and agencies to comply with the resolution to prioritize local content when procuring malaria commodities using funds from the Impact Projects facility. Invite the leadership of the National Malaria Program to explain why defective mosquito nets are still being procured, imported, and distributed in Nigeria against World Health Organization standards and local content directives from the House. Mandate the committees on HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria control, healthcare services and health institutions to investigate the late and non-disbursement of the Impact Project funds, the alleged underperformance and downrating of the National Malaria Elimination Program (NMEP) by the Office of the Inspector General of the Global Fund, and the procurement and distribution of non-approved mosquito nets across the country, and report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
The motion was voted on and adopted.
The ayes have it.
Representative Ahmad Munir also moved the motion on the need to adopt and implement the Silencing the Guns roadmap.
The concept of silencing the guns is born out of the observation that the African continent is the scene of numerous violent conflicts that make the desired economic and political integration of the continent difficult. As part of the AU Agenda 2063, the AU sought to ensure that Africa is characterized by peace, political tolerance, and good governance. Concerned that initially the roadmap was to be achieved by 2020, of which the continent fell short, and the goal was further extended to 2030.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
The motion
Against
was
say
voted
nay.
on and
That's
adopted, and the House resolved to urge the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to fully embrace the report and ensure relevant ministries, departments and agencies key into the roadmap. Also urge the Office of the National Security Advisor to fully adopt the report and cascade it down to other relevant security agencies. Mandate the Committees on National Security and Intelligence and Foreign Affairs to ensure compliance. On bills, the House considered for second reading a bill for an act to establish the Petroleum Training Institute, Agbonisia, LMA, to provide courses of instruction, training and research in petroleum technology and to produce technicians and other skilled personnel required to run the petroleum industry and for related matters. The bill was sponsored by Representative Chisholm Promise DK.
Those in favor of the motion say aye.
It was voted on, approved for second reading, and referred to the House Committee on Tertiary Education and Services. Passed at third reading is a bill for an act to amend Section 2, 4, 7, 11, and 15 of the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act (CAPC 52), Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the rehabilitation of delinquent children, provide a comprehensive definition for services, stakeholders, and children or wards as captured in the Enabling Act by providing a role of community-based organization in the development of basic education in states and local government councils, including senior secondary education as part of basic education in Nigeria and for related matters.
Glad to have you back, and thanks for staying tuned. We'll move on to the interview we had with the Chairman House Committee on Electoral Matters, Representative Aishatu Jibril Duku. As the Chairman House Committee on Electoral Matters, Representative Aishatu Duku told us how the task has been for her while discharging her duties.
By virtue of the importance of the committee, we have members, from different parts of Nigeria. Remember, electoral matters means all things about election, and so we supervise and oversight INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission. And so part of the discharge of our duties is to see to the budgetary allocation of INEC and to bring the budget to the House through the Appropriation Committee and to oversight INEC, the headquarters and all the offices nationwide, and any other duties that are connected to the performance of our duties as members of the Electoral Matters Committee.
Representative Aishatu Duku shared with us some of the success stories of her committee.
Today, myself and members of the committee are very proud to say that, yes, we have championed the amendment of the electoral bill, and it has become law because Mr. President has assented to the bill. So our major success is the passage of this bill into law.
Representative Aishatu shed light on collaborations between the committee, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and other relevant stakeholders.
This success that we have achieved couldn't have come without the collaboration of the umpire. INEC is the umpire. And talking about the non-governmental organizations, the key stakeholders, the general public, the carrying members of different political parties, who, are waiting anxiously to be guided, other nations that are looking onto Nigeria, to see, how we conduct our elections, observers. So you can see that the National Assembly alone cannot do it. We need to synergize both nationally and internationally.
Sharing her thoughts on challenges faced so far by the committee, the lawmaker had this to say.
It has been, very challenging. I told you, even from the 8th Assembly, we couldn't get the law passed. This was because there were a lot of challenges. The synergy factor was one of the challenges, because we needed to collaborate in such a way that the legislative arm of government and the executive arm of government are on the same page. We have to understand. Before it was suspicion. Okay, why did the legislative arm of government put the card reader and any other technological device? Now the executive were suspicious of the legislative. So that was in itself a big challenge, And then also for the political parties, they also were, agitating that they needed to know everything, that the legislature took a decision on, So from the public hearings, we received a lot of memoranda, for different views, which we had to bring together, and, bringing, different ideas together, that meant, a lot of understanding, a lot of explanation, which, resulted in a lot of conferences, and even for INEC, who would implement the law, for them to also buy in and own the law, it was a big challenge too. So, but thank God we were able to overcome, these hurdles, these challenges, and the result is what we have today as the new electoral law.
As the 2023 general elections approaches, the lawmaker highlighted some of the things that need to be done to have credible, free and fair elections.
What is needed, is for the common man on the street to understand the electoral law. So this law, if it means translating it into the different languages for the common man on the street to understand what the law says, it's very important that we do that. For instance, most of our elections are characterized by violence. The new law has up to 11 sections that is talking about violence. For the Nigerian youths to understand that the law is protecting them, for the Nigerian women to know that the law is protecting them, is very important. So, for the youths to say no to violence, they are protected by the law. The law is against violence during political meetings, political rallies, before the conduct of the election, after the conduct of the election. The law, has provision for punishment. So if you don't get the law, to the people to understand it and to own it and to work with it, it means we are going to have some challenges. But if they get to know what the law says, they will now work to make sure that they don't go against the law. because they will be punished. For example, it is wrong for you to wear a t-shirt bearing a candidate on election day to go to the polling unit. You can see in previous elections, people do it. They wear t-shirts or they carry caps, you know, on election day. Yes. So which means campaigns still going on even during election. So they need to know that now the law is very clear. You cannot do that. And if you do that, you'll be punished. You'll be sanctioned. So our major challenge is to get the law down to the grassroots for the common man to understand what the law says so that they will not break the law.
Representative Aishatu Jibril Dukku has a message for Nigerians ahead of the 2023 general elections.
First and foremost, to the Nigerian women, they've been the voters. They always come out early. Come rain, come sunshine. They queue up, stay the whole day to vote. I want the Nigerian women to keep up this attitude of coming out to vote. They should not be afraid. They should be bold and come out to vote. To the Nigerian youth, this country is for you. Protect it, guard it jealously by saying no to violence. Because politicians use the youth to cause violence, to cause mayhem during political meetings, rallies, and even on election days. I want to call on the youth to say no to violence because our democracy is very important. It is the democracy that will bring the employment they require. It is democracy that will bring them to be the leaders. Because the percentage of Nigerian youth is greater than any group as it is now. So I want the youth to guard jealously our democracy by saying no to violence and coming out en masse to vote the candidate of their choice that will lead and that will bring them the employment, you know, the economy they want. They should say no to violence.
That was lawmaker Aishatu Jibril Dukku, who is the Chairman House Committee on Electoral Matters. It is on this note that we will draw the curtains on this week's edition of House Ticket. Thanks for being part of the program. And don't forget to keep sending in your comments, observations and questions on our social media handles on display. Please join us again next week for a fresh and interesting episode of House Ticket. Remember to stay safe always. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.